Hey everyone! Today's video is a quick history of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding started way back in ancient Greece and Rome. That's confirmed by history and archaeology. Bronze pieces and old Roman temple art have people lifting weights. Greek athlete Milo of Croton, who lived around 520 BC, was a six-time Olympic champ. Many athletic historians view him as the origin of modern weight training. But Eugene Sandow is usually credited as the father of modern bodybuilding. He lived in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was one of the strongest people back then. Sandow first showed off his muscles in performances and wrestling scenes. He entertained audiences with his strong and good-looking body and fostered love for a fit physique. Sandow was first to open physical education institutions and gyms, today's training centers. He widely promoted his strength training method, workout equipment, healthy lifestyle, and proper diet. On 14 September 1901, Sandow held the first bodybuilding contest in London, the Great Competition. William Murray from Nottingham, UK won the contest. The winners got a statue modeled after Sandow himself. The same statue replica is given today to winners of the main bodybuilding competition, Mr. Olympia. The first big bodybuilding competition in the US happened only in 1904. It took place on 16th January in New York's Madison Square Garden. Ultra Law won the competition and got $1,000, a big deal in the early 20th century. Huge money for the time. Besides cash, he earned the title of world's most perfectly developed man. Next up we have Charles Atlas, an Italian bodybuilder who won titles like World's Most Beautiful and Perfect Man at competitions in Madison Square Garden in 1921 and 1922. After these wins, Atlas started receiving letters asking about his training and diet to look as good as he did. Charles realized he could make a pretty penny off this. In 924, they started marketing their own workout program, mailing it out to people. Bodybuilding, or as some call it, weightlifting, was growing rapidly, being advertised more and more, and new competitions were popping up for athletes. The first ever Mr. America bodybuilding competition was held on July 4, 1939, and the winner was Burt Goodrich. The following year, Grimack won the title, impressing everyone with his physique, grace, and poise. Grimack, who was unmatched in muscle growth at the time, became a catalyst for the further development of bodybuilding. In 1945, Clancy Ross won the Mr. America competition, being considered by many as the first modern bodybuilder. Specialized sports magazines also played a major role in promoting bodybuilding. These magazines gave advice on maintaining shape, achieving good results in weightlifting, and other secrets of the sport. Bodybuilders began making their way into movies, playing ancient heroes and the likes. Steve Reeves, a well-known bodybuilder of the time, became famous for his roles as Samson and Hercules. After winning the Mr. America and Mr. Universe competitions, Reeves was considered one of the greatest bodybuilders ever. The Mr. Universe competition was established in 1948, and about a year before that, a boy named Arnold was born into an Austrian family. Arnold was destined to revolutionize the bodybuilding world, but for now Arnold Schwarzenegger was growing up while people like Steve Reeves and Reg Park were dazzling on magazine covers with their perfectly sculpted bodies. Reg Park won the Mr. Universe title numerous times. He starred as Hercules in 4 movies in the 60s, and later became a mentor to Arnold Schwarzenegger. While athletes were vigorously training for the Mr. America and Mr. Universe titles, Joe Weider started the Mr. Olympia competition, which would later become the main annual event in bodybuilding. In 1946, Joe and his brother Ben established the International Federation of Bodybuilding (IFBB), and on September 18, 1965, the federation held the first Mr. Olympia competition in New York. Larry Scott won the competition and also bagged the title the following year. Larry Scott tried and rejected many arm toning methods before finally inventing the arm bench, known to everyone as the Scott bench. Larry himself called his invention a preacher. In the years of 67, 68, and 69, the Mr. Olympia title was held by bodybuilder Sergio Oliva. Schwarzenegger, aka the Austrian Oak, knocked Sergio off his throne. Arnold had the Mr. Olympia title until 75, but then decided to take a break out of the blue. What was even more surprising was him coming back in 1980. After a 5-year break, the bodybuilder won Mr. Olympia for the 7th time, but despite his win, he mentioned in an interview that the competition in bodybuilding had really ramped up while he was away. If in 75 only a few athletes were close to his level, by 1980 there were dozens. Plus, it was a bit of a struggle for the 33-year-old bodybuilder to get back in competitive shape, so after the 1980 Mr. Olympia, Arnold straight up quit his bodybuilding career. But that didn't mean he forgot about bodybuilding altogether. Arnold continued to share his experience with other athletes in magazines and books, and in '88 he organized his very own Arnold Classic competition. While still into bodybuilding, Arnold Schwarzenegger started his acting career and quickly became a big-time superstar. After a successful movie career, he jumped into politics and ended up becoming the governor of California. Schwarzenegger's charisma, ambition, and hard work all contributed to the docu-film Pumping Iron, which hit theaters in 1977. In the 70s, bodybuilding became really popular with names like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Frank Zane, Dave Draper, Franco Columbu, Tom Platz, Mike Mentzer, and more becoming known not just in the US but internationally. In the 80s, there was a huge boom in bodybuilding, not only as a competitive sport but in how it influenced our culture and society overall. At the beginning of the decade, the International Bodybuilding Federation was already a thriving organization with more than 100 member countries. As the 90s approached, the quality of the athlete's physique improved due to advancements in training techniques and the use of growth hormone in addition to anabolic steroids. After Chris Dickerson's win at Olympia in '82 and Samir Banaut's in '83, Lee Haney popped up on the scene, embodying the perfect blend of proportion and mass. Lee Haney ended up as an 8-time Mr. Olympia winner. Other well-known bodybuilders in the 80s were Labrada, Vince Taylor, Sean Ray, and Rich Gaspari. It was on Haney's watch that an era of aesthetic bodybuilding ended, making way for the era of mass monsters, kicked off by Dorian Yates. Yates nailed his first Mr. Olympia title in '92. A fun fact, the very same year Ronnie Coleman made his Olympia debut, who ended up in the 16th place and probably didn't even have a clue that he was about to become a legit bodybuilding legend. Dorian Yates bagged 6 Mr. Olympia titles in a row from 1992 to 1997, setting a new benchmark of weight at 120 kilograms. An amazing bodybuilder of that time, who gave Yates quite a competition, was Kevin Levrone. He bagged a few runner-up spots at Olympia but never made it to the top, earning the nickname the uncrowned King of Mr. Olympia in 1997. Dorian Yates pulled off his most heroic final victory at Olympia when he tore his triceps 3 weeks before the competition, but still fought for the win. Yates had to retire because of his injury, which provided an opportunity that Ronnie Coleman did not miss. He left the judges stunned with his enormous size but great muscle detail at the same time. He secured the first place in the Mr. Olympia competition of 1990 and talented bodybuilder Flex Wheeler bagged second place. Many fans consider him to be the most naturally gifted and good-looking athlete in history. Several bodybuilding experts believe that, like Kevin Levrone, Flex Wheeler was unfairly denied the title of Mr. Olympia. Coleman competed at a weight of 130 kilograms and bagged the Sandow Trophy 8 times in a row, earning the nickname, the greatest of all time. Coleman would have loved to bag the Mr. Olympia title for the 9th time but was thwarted by the rising star of bodybuilding, Jay Cutler. Cutler was a runner-up at Olympia several times, always grappling with Coleman for the top spot. He finally made his dream come true in 2006, snatching the win away from the reigning champion. Jay Cutler also won the Olympia in 2007, 2009, and 2010, stepping aside momentarily in 2008. From 2011 to 2017, the top spot at the premier bodybuilding competition was held by Phil Heath, who was mentored by Jay Cutler. One of Heath's main rivals was Kai Greene, with whom the champ had several clashes during posing. Kai Greene eventually bowed out of this year's long race, and unexpectedly in 2018, Mr. Olympia was Sean Roden, who looked like $1 million at age 2. But he couldn't hold on to his title, because the champ was disqualified from the Mr. Olympia contest and all subsequent Mr. Olympia contests due to a rape charge. The 2019 Mr. Olympia contest was won by bodybuilder Brandon Curry, and everyone is eagerly waiting to see what will happen in 2020. Can Curry take home the Sandow Trophy again, or are we in for changes yet again, because nothing's cast in stone? Athletes like William Bonac and Roelly Winkler got serious game, and maybe Phil Heath will reclaim his trophy, who knows? As for our guys, Alexander Fedorov was the first one to hit the Olympia scene, getting 19th place back in 05. Sergei Shelestov also competed twice in Olympia. In 07 he was 16th, and a year later 17th. Another pro from Russia making it to Olympia twice was Eugenie. In 2010 he bagged 17th and bumped up to 16th in 2011. No doubt bodybuilding has come a long way since Eugen Sandow. Nowadays bodybuilding is a huge industry with its own federation, fitness mags and websites, sport nutrition sellers and accessories dealers, training bloggers and all. Some folks tone their body as a hobby, for others it's their career. And let's not forget female. Sure, genetically women might not bulk up like men, but some ladies out there do pack impressive muscle. After a 5-year break, Miss Olympia competition is back on in 2020. Loads of athletes not mentioned in this video have definitely made their mark in bodybuilding history. We're talking Lou Ferrigno, Serge Nubret, Lee Priest, Victor Martinez, Dennis Wolf, Branch Warren, Big Ramy, Notorious Andreas Munzer, and many more.